Om Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantahe. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhi Tamastu Mavet Pishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजानन महर्निशं अनेकदन्तं भक्तानां एकदन्तमुपास्महे श्री महागणपतये नमः गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः उमाकोमलहस्ताब्ज सम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம் சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிரக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே जगदः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ श्री पार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृते कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः श्री गुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाबात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി ഏതീനു മന്യനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടതോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കനായി കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good evening, everyone. Let's get started on today. I think Sandeep and Sudha, they are not able to join. So I think Soumya, I think you're doing 12, right? Or 14. So yeah, you can just do that and then we'll jump into the class.
Okay. Dasakam 14, Kapilopakyanam. समनुस्मृततावकाङ्घ्रियुग्मः समनुः पङ्कजसम्भवाङ्गजन्मा निजमन्तरमन्तराय हीनं चरितं ते कथयन् सुखं निनाय समये खलु तत्र कर्दमाख्यो द्रुहिणच्छाय भवस्तदीयवाचा धृतसर्गरसो निसर्गरम्यं भगवन् स्वामयुतं समासिषेवे गरुडोपरि कालमेघकम्रं विलसत्केलिसरोजपाणिपद्मं हसितोल्लसिताननं विभो त्वं पपुराविष्कुरशे स्म कर्धमाय स्तुवते पुलकावृताय तस्मै मनुपुत्रीं दयितां न वापि पुत्रीः कपिलं च सुतं स्वमेव पश्चात् स्वगतिं चाप्यनुगृह्य निर्गतो भूः समनुष्यतरूपया महिष्या गुणवत्या सुतया च देवहूत्या भवधीरितनारदोपदिष्टः समगात्कर्दममागति प्रतीक्षम् मनुनोपहृतां च देवहूतिं तरुणीरत्नमवाप्य कर्दमोऽसौ भवदच्चरनिर्वृतोऽपि तस्यां दृढशुश्रूषणया दधौ प्रसादं स पुनस्त्वदुपासनप्रभावात् दैत्या कामकृते कृते विमाने वनिताकुलसङ्कुलो नवात्मा व्यहरद्देवपतेषु देवहूत्या शतवर्षमतव्यतीय सोऽयं नवकन्या समवाप्य धन्यरूपाः वनयानसमुद्यतोऽपि कान्ताहितकृत्वज्जननोत्सुकोऽन्यवासीत् निजभर्तगिरा भवन्निषेवा निरतायामत देवहूत्या कपिलस्त्वमजायता जनानां प्रतयिष्यन् परमात्मतत्त्वविद्याम् वनमेयुषि कर्दमे प्रसन्ने मत सर्वस्वमुपादिशन् जनन्यै कपिलात्मकवायुमन्दिरेशा त्वरितं त्वं परिपाहि मां गदौगात् श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
Very good. Just one small, the seventh stanza, second line, Dayita. I think you said Daitya. Second line, Parungo?
Daita.
Daita. Okay. I think you said Daitya. Then there was the only thing. Okay. All right. So let's go jump to 30 and 31 today. So 30 and 31 is Vamana Avataram, right? So we saw 28, 27, 28, 29. How the Mohini Avataram and all that is happening, and then now it's going to Vamana Avataram. So let's start today with Purna. Can you be a student?
Sure.
Meera, can you be a student?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Stanza 1. Shakrena samyati hatopi balir Shukrena jivita tanuh katuvardhitoshma Vikrantiman bhayanilina suram trilokim Chakre vashe satava chakra mukada bhitaha. So because of the Mohini Avataram and all that, everything that is actually happening there, right? The Kurma Avataram also that happens. So the Devas actually become more powerful. And once they become powerful, all the Asuras are getting defeated in 27, 28, 29. All of that is happening. And as part of that, Maharaja Bali, who was one of the king of the Asuras at that time, he also is getting killed or he gets defeated, right? One of those things. So when that happens, then what Shukracharya is the guru of all the Asuras. So because of Shukracharya's power, what happens is this Maharaja Bali is brought back. And then he's becoming strong again. So he just recovers, right? And then what they do is the Shukracharya and others are descendant of Bhrigu, who is one of the Sapta Rishis at that time. So they're the descendants of him. So with all their Brahmanas and all their blessings, these Daityas then start doing a lot of sacrifices and all the yajna and all of that, and they're actually beginning to get powerful. And when they become powerful, what Shukracharya tells is, he tells his Maharaja Bali to perform something called as a Vishwajit Yajna. It's one of the yajna he performs, because of which he gets extremely powerful, and then he actually goes and they're able to defeat Indra. So the kind of the tide has turned, and then after several years, right? So the Indra is then defeated, and then they end up, Indras and all the Devas end up abandoning their lands and then going away, and the Asuras are taking power. So that's what it is kind of telling here is, although he was defeated or killed by Indra previously, he then was brought back to life by Shukracharya, and then he's then the Maharaja Bali is then gaining power, and the Asuras are gaining power. And then it also says that so and then he's he's not afraid of, here it says specifically that he's not afraid of Maharaja Bali is not afraid of you. By you he means Vishnu, only because Maharaja Bali is a grandson of Prahlada. So because although he comes in the dynasty, he knows he has Prahlada's blessing, so he's not afraid of you. At the same time, he's not devoted to you either. So that's what is happening in stanza 1. Shakrena samyati hatopi balir mahatma, comma, Shukrena. First word is Shakrena. Shakra refers to Indra. So Shakrena. Next line is Shukrena, referring to Shukracharya. So Shukrena Jivita Tanuhu is there, put a ich sound. Tanuh Kratu Varditoshma. So we'll do this two lines. Shakrena Samyati Hatopi Balir Mahatma Shukrena Jivita Tanuh Kratu Varditoshma. Purna, you want to go? No, go. Anyone?
Shakrena samyati hatopi balir mahatma Shukrena jivita tanu pratuvarditoshma. Shakrena samyati hatopi balir mahatma Shukrena jivita tanu pratuvarditoshma.
Shakrena samyati hatopi balir mahatma Shukrena jivita tanuh kratuvardhitoshma. Shakrena samyati hatopi balir mahatma Shukrena jivita tanuh kratuvardhitoshma.
Vikrantiman Bhaya Nileen Asuram. If you want to break it, you can break it at the na. Bhaya Nileen Asuram Trilokim, comma, Chakre Vashe Satava Chakra Mukada Bhitaha. Vikrantiman Bhayanilina Suram Trilokim Chakre Vashe Satava Chakra Mukada Bhitaha.
Vikrantiman Bhayanilin Asuram Trilokim Chakre Vaseshatava Chakra Mukada Bhitaha. Vikrantiman Bhayanilin Asuram Trilokim Chakre Vaseshatava Chakra Mukada Bhitaha.
Vikrantiman bhayanilin asuram trilokim Chakre vashe satava chakra mukhada bhitaha. Vikrantiman bhayanilin asuram trilokim Chakre vashe satava chakra mukhada bhitaha.
Stanza 2. Putrati darshana vashad adhithir vishanham tam kashyapam nijapatim sharanam prapanna tvat pujanam taduditam hi payo vratakyam sadhvadashaham acharattvai bhakti purna. So when the devas kind of all disappeared, right, they all ran away, they all went into hiding. So when that happens, Aditi, who is the mother of all the devas, she's concerned because her children are, have all disappeared and they're all in struggle right now. So she then waits for her husband Kashyapa to come back after his meditation and all that. And then she goes and tells him that, what should I be doing here? What can I be doing so that my children can actually get back to power? She goes and asks Kashyapa. So Kashyapa then says that there's nothing that I can do. However, you should pray to the Supreme Lord. And what he tells her is, this is the month of, Phalguna Masam. So in that month, which is February, March, in that month, he says you should do this something called as Payo Vratakyam. He says it's 12 days It's a long procedure, but in a summary, it is 12 days where all you do is just drink milk. You just sustain on milk. That's what it is. You don't eat anything else. And then, but at the same time, you have to be like praying to the Lord, right? So there's a whole set of procedures they describe in Bhagavatam of what the Payovratakyam is. But summary is 12 days, you do continuous prayers to the Lord, and then you survive only on milk, right? And then when you do that with full devotion, Tvai Bhakti Purna, with full devotion, you do it. And then eventually the Supreme Lord himself will actually come and then help you out. Kashyapa is giving her the advice. So, Putrarti Darshana. Next word, if you want to break it, you can break it into Vashat Aditir, right? The you can break it into It and A. Vashat Aditir Vishanna, comma, Tam Kashyapam Nijapatim Sharanam Prapanna. Putrarti darshana vashat aditir vishanna tam kashyapam nijapatim sharanam prapanna.
Putrati darshana vashada aditi vishanna tam kashyapam nijapatim sharanam prapanna.
Meera, the first word, first line, aditir, there's a ir sound there. Okay. Aditir vishanna.
Okay. Putrati darshana vashat aditir vishanna tam kashyapam nijapatim sharanam prapanna.
Putrarti darshana vashad aditir vishanna tam kashyapam nijapatim sharanam prapanna. Putrarti darshana vashad aditir vishanna tam kashyapam nijapatim sharanam prapanna.
Tvat pujanam taduditam hi payo vratakyam, comma, sa dvadashaham. So that dvadashaham means 12 days. So sa dvadashaham acharat tvai. If you want to break it, you can break it at that ma. So dvadashaham acharat tvai bhakti purna. Tvat pujanam taduditam hi payo vratakyam sa dvadashaham acharat tvai bhakti purna.
Tvat pujanam taduditam hi payo vratakyam sa அது எப்படி சொல்லணும் சாத்வாதசாஹம் அச்சரத் த்வயி பக்தி பூர்ணா த்வத் பூஜனம் ததுதிதம் ஹி பயோ விரதாக்யம் ஸ்வா அது இன்னொரு தடவை சொல்லுங்க
சா ஓகே சா த்வா த்வா dva த்வா த்வாதசாஹம்.
Okay. Sadwadasham acharat
sa dvadashaham.
Sadwadashaham acharat tvai bhakti purna.
Correct. So it's dvadasha. So dva dva. Okay.
Wow.
Tat pujanam tadudita tat pujanam
tvat pujanam.
Sorry. Tvat pujanam taduditam hi payo vratakhyam sadvadashaham acharat tvai bhakti purna. Tvat pujanam taduditam hi payo vratakhyam sadvadashaham acharat tvai bhakti purna.
Stanza 3. Tasya badhau tvai nilina matera mushyaha श्यामश्चतुर्भुजवपु स्वयमाभिरासीः नम्रां च तामिह भवत्तनयो भवेयं गोप्यं मदीक्षणमिति प्रलपन्नयासीः. So when she does this for 12 days, and then there are more procedures that happen after that. Anyway, when she completes, when Aditi completes all the procedures, then in front of her, from front of her, Swayam Avirasihi, you yourself are manifesting in front of her. And how you come is Shyamaha. Shyamaha means with the bluish complexion, blue grayish complexion. Chaturbhuja, which means 4 arms, right? With the Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Dhara. So you then manifest in front of her. And then when Lord manifests, and then he says, I know kind of what you're looking for. I know your sons are in trouble and you're trying to find a resolution for that. But he says, right now, the time is not right for the Devas to fight with the Asuras. Because the Asuras are now under the influence of Shukracharya and all the other Brahmanas. and they're performing all these other things. And what Mahabali is also doing is he's also performing the Ashwamedha Yajna. So you perform 100 Ashwamedha Yajnas, then you get the title of the Indra. Like I said last time, Indra is a title, it's not the name of a person, right? So you get to get that, you have to perform 100. So he says he's already on path. So they're very powerful. So going for a war or attacking them is not going to happen. However, since you performed this vrata, I am obligated to give you what you want. So he said, I myself will be born to you. And he says, and whatever this is, don't let anybody else know, but I myself will be born to you as in this avataram, right? So tasya vadhau tvai nilina matera mushyaha, comma, shyamash chatur bhuja vapuhu, is there put a is vapus swayam avirasihi. You can break at that ma if you want. Swayam avirasihi. Tasya vadhau tvai nilina matera mushyaha shyamash chatur bhuja vapus swayam avirasihi. मेरा म्यूट लेके Mira, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Tasya vadau tvai nilina matera mushyaha shyamas chaturbhuja vapush swayam avirashihi.
Swayam avirasihi.
Avirashihi. Tasya vadau tvai nilina matera mushyaha shyamas chaturbhuja vapush swayam avirashihi.
And then the two places, right? First line, nilina. I think you're saying nilina. It's nilina.
Okay.
Adhe mari, and the second line, shyamash.
Shyamas. Okay.
Ish. Shyamash. Shyama. Kapran is ish. If you have a visarga there, put a ish. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Shyam. Okay.
तस्यावधौ त्वयि नीलीनमतेरमुष्याः चतुर्भुजवपुस्वयमाविरासीः तस्यावधौ त्वयि नीलीनमतेरमुष्याः श्यामश्चतुर्भुजवपुस्वयमाविरासीः
Namram cha tamiha bhavat tanayo bhaveyam, comma, gopyam madikshanam iti pralapanna yasihi. That's one word, pralapanna yasihi. Namram chatamiha bhavatanayo bhaveyam gopyam madikshanamite pralapanna yasihi.
Namram chatamiha bhavatanayo bhaveyam gopyam madikshanamiti pralapanna yashihi. Yasihi. Namram chatamiha bhavatanayo bhaveyam gopyam madikshanamiti pralapanna yashihi.
नम्रां च तामिह भवत्तनयो भवेयं गोप्यं मदीक्षणमिति प्रलपन्नयासीः नम्रां च तामिह भवत्तनयो भवेयं गोप्यं मदीक्षणमिति प्रलपन्नयासीः.
Stanza 4. Tvam kashype tapasi sannidhadattadhanim praptosi garbhamadite pranuto vidhatra prasuta cha prakata vaishnava divya rupam sadvadashi shravana punya dine bhavantam. So then sage Kashyapa, who's in meditation all the time, so he could feel that there is a amsam of the Lord which is actually entering into him. So he's feeling that the Lord is entering into him. And then to Kashyapa and Aditi, then Aditi becomes pregnant, right? Then to both of them, you are then born. So the way you are born, even when, just like how it happens, so there are a couple of times, right, where this one is Prisni and Sutapas. They were there the first. He was born as Prisni Garbha. That was the first time the Lord was born. Second is to Aditi and Kashyapa as Vamana. The third time to Devaki and Vasudeva as Krishna. So So those are the three specific avatarams that the Lord is actually born to in the Mari to this couple, and they are the same avatarams, are the same couple who are then born as well, right? So in all those instances when he is born with Prakata Vaishnava Divya Rupam in your original form, which is the Chaturbhuja, right? Even when Devaki and Vasudeva, and we'll see it in the 38th, so I don't want to jump to that, but remember this, right? Same thing will happen in 38. So when he's born itself, he's born in that form. He's born with Chaturbhuja and giving them that vision, saying that I am the same person who's born to you every single time. And the same idol which Krishni and Sutapa worship then goes over to Kashyapa and Aditi, and the same Chaturbhuja idol Devaki and Vasudeva also worship in the jail, right? So anyway, so here he's born. So when he's born is Dwadashi Shravana Punyadine. So in the Shravana Masam, on the Dwadashi, on the 12th day of the calendar, lunar calendar, he's born in that form to Aditi and Kashyapa. So Tvam Kashyape Tapasi Sannidhadat Tadanim, comma, Praptosi Garbhamaditehe, is that put a if sound, Adite Pranuto Vidhatra. Tvam Kashyape Tapasi Sannidhadat Tadanim, Praptosi Garbhamadite Pranuto Vidhatra.
Tvam Kashyape Tapashi Sannidhadat Tadanim, Praptoshi Garbhamadite Pranuto Vidhatra. Tvam Kashyape Tapasi Sannidhadat Tadanim, Praptoshi Garbhamadite Pranuto Vidhatra.
Tvam Kashyape Tapasi Sannidhattadanim, Praptosi Garbhamadite Pranuto Vidhatra. Tvam Kashyape Tapasi Sannidhattadanim, Praptosi Garbhamadite Pranuto Vidhatra.
Prasuta cha Prakata Vaishnava Divya Rupam, comma, sa Dwadashi Shravana Punya Dine Bhavantam. Prasuta cha Prakata Vaishnava Divya Rupam, sa Dwadashi Shravana Punya Dine Bhavantam.
Prasuta cha Prakata Vaishnava Divya Rupam, Dwadashi Shravana Punya Dine Bhavantam. Prasuta cha Prakata Vaishnava Divya Rupam, Dwadashi Shravana Punya Dine Bhavantam.
Prasuta cha Prakata Vaishnava Divya Rupam, Dwadashi Shravana Punya Dine Bhavantam. Prasuta cha Prakata Vaishnava Divya Rupam, Dwadashi Shravana Punya Dine Bhavantam.
Stanza 5. Punya Shramam Tamabhivarshati Pushpa Varshaihi, Harsha Kule Suragane Kritaturya Ghoshe, Badvanjalim Jaya Jayeti Nutaf Pitrubhyam, Tvam Takshane Patutamam Vaturupamadha. So when Aditi sees that out of her womb, right, the Lord himself has come in that form. So they all, and then even Kashyapa, right, so they are all extremely happy. And both the parents now are folding their hands and worshipping the Lord. And the same thing you will hear again in the 38th Dasakam when we're talking about Krishna Avataram. So they realize that the Lord himself is giving them this vision. So they actually bow to him and they do namaskaram to the Lord, who's their own child, right? So and they are extremely happy, and that's where here it says Jaya Jaya. So Kashyapa is praising the Lord, right? And then there is a couple of stanzas they recite saying, "You are the supreme Lord. Thanks for being born to us," and all that. So, but the part is just condensed it, saying they are praising you, and at the same time, even the devas and the others are also extremely happy because you are now born, because they know why you have been born here. And immediately when that happens in 38th, you'll see the Lord immediately resorts back to his child form in 38th in Krishna Avataram. So here what he does is he immediately assumes the form of a Vamana. Vamana means a person who's a dwarf, like a small boy, right? And the Mario dwarf, short size, short height. So you assume the form of a Vamana or a Vaturupam of a Brahmachari, but technically the Brahmachari is happening only in the next stanza where they put Punal, but he becomes a small boy or a Vamana. So Punyashramam Tamabhivarshati Pushpa Varshaihi. So put a visarga at the end of that line and a comma, Pushpa Varshaihi. Next line on top of the ha, if you have that ir, then remove it off. So it's Harsha Kule Sura Gane Krita Turya Ghoshe. Punyashramam Tamabhivarshati Pushpa Varshaihi Harsha Kule Sura Gane Krita Turya Ghoshe.
पुण्याश्रमं तमभिवर्षति पुष्पवर्षैः हर्षाकुले सुरगणे कृततूर्यघोषे पुण्याश्रमं तमभिवर्षति पुष्पवर्षैः हर्षाकुले सुरगणे कृततूर्यघोषे तूर्यघोषे
पुण्याश्रमं तमभिवर्षति पुष्पवर्षैः हर्षाकुले सुरगणे कृततूर्यघोषे पुण्याश्रमं तमभिवर्षति पुष्पवर्षैः हर्षाकुले सुरगणे कृततूर्यघोषे.
Rajesh for me. The second line la vandu Surakuleva Surakaneva.
It means the same thing. Suragane or Surakule means the descendants or the devas. That's what it means. So just change it to Suragane to be consistent. Okay. Badvanjalim Jaya Jayeti Nutaha. Is there put a if sound? Nutaf Pitrabhyam, comma Tvam Tatkshane Patutamam Vatu Rupamadhaha. Rupam Adaha, if you want to break it. Badvanjalim Jaya Jayeti Nutaf Pitrabhyam Tvam Takshane Patutamam Vatu Rupamadhaha.
Badvanjalim Jaya Jayeti Nutaf Pitrubhyam Tvam Takshane Patutaman Baturupam
Baturupam Adhaha.
Baturupamadaha Badvanjalim Jaya Jayeti Nutaf Pitrubhyam Tvam Takshane Patutamam Baturupamadaha.
Correct. All three words. Vatu Rupam Adaha.
Badhvanjalim Jaya Jayeti Nutaf Pitrubhyam Tvam Tatkshane Patutamam Vaturupamadhaha. Badhvanjalim Jaya Jayeti Nutaf Pitrubhyam Tvam Tatkshane Patutamam Vaturupamadhaha.
Stanza 6. Tavat Prajapati Mukai Rupaniya Maunji Danda Jinakshavalaya Birarchyamanaha Devipyamana Vapurisha Kritagni Karyaha Tvam Prastita Baligriham Prakrutashwamedham. So the first thing they actually perform is they perform the threat ceremony because he is born as a brahmachari. So they perform the punal ceremony. So in this, here, in Bhagavatam, it says who does what, right? So I'll just kind of call out some critical things. So the sun god himself comes and tells him the Gayatri mantra, right? The Brihaspati comes and offers the sacred thread. Then Brahma gives the water. Then the Saraswati gives him the Rudraksha beads. Then Mother Earth in her form comes and gives him the deer skin, because if you see people who wear the punal, at least brahmachari, they have a deer skin there, right? And then his mother Aditi gives him the the undergarment, right? The old brahmacharis used to wear, they wear it. So they gave him the underwear as well. And then the Kubera comes and gives him the bowl for begging, because they have to first and they first, for people who have seen this, they go and say Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi. They're supposed to survive on alms, right? So Kubera comes and gives the pot for which he can actually collect the alms. And then it says that Bhagavati, the Parvati, who's the wife of Shiva, she is the one who does the first, gives the first alms, because the brahmacharis go around asking for alms, and then Parvati Devi gives him the first alms. Essentially, they do the punal ceremony or the threat ceremony. So once that is happened, now that Vamana has threat ceremony done, the first task he has to do is perform the fire sacrifice. So all the brahmacharis are supposed to perform fire sacrifices every day, right? So that is absolutely important. Of course, a lot of us have, so because we don't do it every time an Avanyavatam comes, when brahmacharis don't do that, they do Samhita Danam on that day to compensate for that 1 full year of not doing. But anyway, here the Vamana on the first day, he does the fire sacrifice, and then he gets ready, and then you start going towards Bali Griham. You start approaching where Bali is doing the Prakritashwamedam, where he is doing the Ashwamedha Yajna, right? He's doing the 100th Ashwamedha Yajna right now is going on. So you then decide to go and meet Bali there. So Tavat Prajapati Mukair Upaniya. If you want to break it, you can break it there. Mukair Upaniya Maunji, which is long E, and then put a plus. So we're going to do the 2 lines together. Maunji Dandajinaksha. That's one word. Dandajinaksha Valayadi Bhirarchamanaha. So that thing they have to say the whole word together only. So Maunji plus Dandajinaksha Valayadi Bhirarchamanaha. Tavat Prajapati Mukairupaniya Maunji Dandajinaksha Valayadi Bhirarchamanaha. Oh, you're in mute.
Tavat Prajapati Mukair Upaniya Maunji Danda Jinaksha Balaya Bibhair
Balayadi Bhirarchamanaha.
Balayadi Bhirarchamanaha. Tavat Prajapati Mukair Upaniya Maunji Danda Jinaksha Balaya Bhirarchamanaha.
Tavat Prajapati Mukhairupaneeya Maunji Dandajinaksha Valayadi Bhirarchamanaha. Tavat Prajapati Mukhairupaneeya Maunji Dandajinaksha Valayadi Bhirarchamanaha.
Manaha.
Manaha.
Dedipya Mana Vapurisha Kritagni Karyaha. Put a visarga there and comma Karyaha, comma. Next line, that is goes away. Tvam Prastita Bali Griham Prakrutashwa Medam. So Prakruta Ashwa Medam. 3 words there. So Prakrutashwa Medam. Dedhipyamana Vapurisha Kritagnikaryaha Tvam Prastitha Baligriham Prakrutashwamedham.
Dedipyamana Vapurisha Kritagnikaryaha Tvam Prastita Baligriham Prakrutashwamedham.
Tvam Prastita, the second line, Prastita.
Prastita, okay. Dedipyamana Vapurisha Kritagni Karyaha Tvam Prastita Baligriham Prakrita Swamedham.
Dedipyamana Vapurisha Kritagnikaryaha Tvam Prasthitha Baligriham Prakrutashvamedham. Dedipyamana Vapurisha Kritagnikaryaha Tvam Prasthitha Baligriham Prakrutashvamedham.
Stanza 7. Gatrena bhavi vahimochita gauravam prak vyavrinvate vadharanim chalayan nayasihi chatram paroshmatiranartamivadhano dandam chadana vajane shivasannidhatum. So since Bali is now performing this Ashwamedha Yajna, right, with Shukracharya and all the other Brahmanas, so Lord is then going there to go meet Bali. So when he's going there, and this is just explaining, so when he's going, even when as a boy, right, he's now a Brahmana boy, maybe 6, 7 years, right, whatever. So when he's walking, so the earth is shaking, and this is a poetic description, right? Is the earth is shaking so that is showing in advance what is going to be happening, right? That the entire world is going to shake later. So it's like a prelude to what is going to happen, that even when he's waking, the earth is shaking. And then he's having the the dandam is the stick. So all the boys know that they give a dandam and then give an umbrella. So if you see most of the Vamana photos, right, he'll be having an umbrella and then he'll be having a stick. So he's saying you're holding the stick as an indicator of the beatings the asuras are going to get. And then you're holding this chatram, which is the umbrella. You're holding is not just to protect from the heat, but also to ward off all the opponents. So you're just walking with the chatram and the dandam, and then you're walking in a way that the entire earth is beginning to shake as an indicator of what's going to come later. So Gatrena Bhavi Mahimochita Gauravam Prak. Put the ik, first ka, ik, and then a comma. Prak. Next line, if you have a half ga, right, remove that half ga off, or whatever you have. Most times it's a half ga, remove that ga off. Then it just becomes Vyavrinva Teva Dharanim Chalayanna Yasihi. Chalayanna Yasihi. Double na coming there. Gatrena Bhavi Mahimochita Gauravam Prake Vyavrinvateva Dharanim Chalayanna Yasihi.
Gatrena Bhavi Mahimochita Gauravam Prak Vyavrinvateva Dharanim Chalayanna Yashihi.
Yasihi.
Yasihi. Gatrena Bhavi Mahimochita Gauravam Prak Vyavrinvateva Dharanim Chalayanna Yasihi.
Gatrena bhavi mahimochita gauravam prak vyavrinvatena dharanim chalayanna yasihi. Gatrena bhavi mahimochita gauravam prak vyavrinvatena dharanim chalayanna yasihi.
Chatram Paroshmati Ranartam Ivada Dhano. If you want to break it, you can break it at that ma, or you can say it together as well. So Ranartam Ivada Dhano, or together Ranartam Ivada Dhano, comma, Dandam Cha Danava Janeshviva Sanni Dhatum. Chatram Paroshmati Ranartam Ivada Dhano, Dandam Cha Danava Janeshviva Sanni Dhatum.
Chatram Paroshmati Ranartam Ivadadhano Dandam Cha Dana Bhajane Sviva Sannidhatum. Chatram Paroshmati Ranartam Ivadadhano Dandam Cha Dana Bhajane Sviva Sannidhatum.
Chatram paroshmatiranartham ivadadhano dandam cha danavajane sannidhatum. Chatram paroshmatiranartham ivadadhano dandam cha danavajane sannidhatum.
That's 8. Tam narmadottaratate hayamedashalam ase dushitvayirucha tavaruddhanetraihi Bhaswan Kimesha Dahanonu Sanat Kumaro Yogi Nukoyamiti Shukra Mukaisha Shanke. So now the Lord reaches Narmada Uttara Taratate, means the northern banks of the Narmada river. So there's a it's a common thing, right? Vamana Avataram, everybody immediately associates it with Kerala, right? So the thing is, Vamana, this thing happened before Parashuram Avataram happened, and only at the end of the Parashuram Avataram does he dig up and the land of Kerala comes up. So there was technically no Kerala there, right? By name, at least. And also the Avataram also doesn't happen. This thing is happening the Ashwamedha Yagam is happening in the Narmada Uttara Taratate. That's what it says. It's happening there. And then there's no thing of Kerala. So I think there's another story of why people think of that Maharaja Bali is coming to Kerala and that Onam is, it's a different story behind it. But the main thing is happening in this region, right? At least according to Bhagavatam, it is happening in the Narmada Uttara Taratate, on the northern banks of the river Narmada, where it is happening. So when the Lord comes there, he's then is the tejas that is in the face of this boy. All the people who are there are just completely surprised and amazed, right? Because sometimes you look at somebody and then they start feeling the tejas, that all the So Shukra Mukhesh, Shukracharya, and all of the other sages there are suddenly drawn towards this boy. So they all kind of get up and then start comparing, who is this person who is Ruddha Netraihi, whose eyes are shining. There's such a power, such a glory coming from the eyes of this person. Is this Bhaswan? Is it the sun himself who has actually come here to meet us? Or Dahana, or is it Agni himself who has actually come because this boy is shining so brightly? Or is it the Yogi Sanat Kumara Yogi, or the Sanat Kumaras who are the most pious and the blessed of them? Have they themselves come down? So they're all amazed as to who is this such a person of such a high virtue and such a tejas who has actually come to meet us. So they all are welcoming this boy right now. So Tam Narmadot Taratate Hayamedha Shalam. Put a im there. Shalam, comma. Next line, Mase Dushi becomes Ase Dushi. So remove the ma. Ase Dushi Twai Rucha Tava Ruddha Netraihi. Tam Narmadotaratate Hayamedha Shalam Ase Dushi Twai Rucha Tava Ruddha Netraihi.
ताम नर्मदोत्तरतते हयमेदशालाम् आसे दुषित्वयि रुचा तव रुद्धनेत्रैः ताम नर्मदोत्तरतते हयमेदशालाम् आसे दुषित्वयि रुचा तव रुद्धनेत्रैः
तां नर्मदोत्तरतटे हयमेधशालाम् आसे दुषित्वयि रुचा तव रुद्धनेत्रैः तां नर्मदोत्तरतटे हयमेधशालाम् आसे दुषित्वयि रुचा तव रुद्धनेत्रैः. We cannot hear you, Rajesh ji.
Oh, sorry, I went on mute. Bhaswan Kimesha Dahano Nu Sanat Kumaro, comma, Yogi Nu Koyamiti Shukra Mukaish Shashanke. Shukra Mukaish Shashanke. Bhaswan Kimesha Dahano Nu Sanat Kumaro Yogi Nu Koyamiti Shukra Mukaish Shashanke.
भास्वान् किमेश दहनो नु सनत् कुमारो योगी नु कोयमिति शुक्रमुखैः शशंके भास्वान् किमेश दहनो नु सनत् कुमारो.
Hold on, I think you're putting an extra nu there. Dahano nu.
भास्वान् किमेश दहनो नु सनत् कुमारो योगी नु कोयमिति शुक्रमुखैः शशंके.
भास्वान् किमेष दहनो नु सनत् कुमारो योगी नु कोयमिति शुक्रमुखैः शशंके. भास्वान् किमेष दहनो नु सनत् कुमारो योगी नु कोयमिति शुक्रमुखैः शशंके.
Stanza 9. Anhitamashu bhrigubir mahasa vibhutaihi Tvam ramya rupamasura pulaka vritangah Bhaktya sametya sukruti parinijya pado Tatto yamanvadhrita murdhani tirtha tirtam. So again, so looking at this charming and splendid form of yours, Shukra Bhrigubi, who all the descendants of Bhrigu, Shukracharya, and all the other Brahmanas who were actually sitting there. So they all immediately got up and they welcomed you and then they seated you. And then the Asura Bali, who's Sukruti, Krita means to do action. Su, anything where Su is preceding means good. So Mahabali, who has actually done a lot of good deeds, right? He's Pulaka Vritangaha. So he's having horripilation, right? So he's so excited to see this boy here. And then he's really feeling so attached to this boy now. So he himself now gets up and then he's approaching you and Parinajya Padav. He's then washing your feet. He's welcoming this Brahmana boy who's actually coming. And then he takes the water, right? Toyam, and then Toyam means water, Murdani, and then it washes the feet and sprinkles that water that's coming out of your feet into his head. And this water, Bhattaripat says, is Tirtha Tirtham. Tirtham itself means holy water. So Tirtha Tirtham means the holiest of the holy water, which is coming out of your feet. Mahabali is washing your feet and then sprinkling on his head and welcoming you here. So Anitam Ashu Brigubhir Mahasa Bibhutaihi. To put a visarga at the end, Bibhutaihi, comma. Next line, the first word is, if you have it, remove that off. Tvam Ramya Rupam Asuraha is there. So put a if. Ramya Rupam Asuraf Pulaka Vritangaha. Anitamashu Bhrigubhir Mahasa Bibhutaihi Tvam Ramya Rupam Asuraf Pulaka Vritangaha.
आनीतमाशु भृगुभिर्महशाभिभूतैः त्वां रम्य रूपम् असुरः पुलकाव्रताङ्गः आनीतमाशु भृगुभिर्महशाभिभूतैः त्वां रम्य रूपम् असुरः पुलकाव्रताङ्गः
Pulakavrtanga.
okay. पुलकाव्रताङ्गः
आनीतमाशु भृगुभिर्महसाभिभूतैः त्वां रम्यरूपमसुरः पुलकावृताङ्गः आनीतमाशु भृगुभिर्महसाभिभूतैः त्वां रम्यरूपमसुरः पुलकावृताङ्गः
Bhaktya Sametya Sukriti Parinijya Padau, comma, Tattoyam Anvadhrita. If you want to break it, you can break it there. Tattoyam Anvadhrita Murdhani Tirtha Tirtham. Bhaktya Sametya Sukriti Parinijya Padau Tattoyam Anvadhrita Murdhani Tirtha Tirtham.
भक्त्या समेत्य सुकृति परिनिज्य पादौ तत्तोऽयम् अन्वधृत मूर्धनि तीर्थ तीर्थम् भक्त्या समेत्य सुकृति परिनिज्य पादौ तत्तोऽयम् अन्वधृत मूर्धनि तीर्थ तीर्थम्
भक्त्या समेत्य सुकृति परिनिज्य पादौ तत्तोऽयमन्वधृत मूर्धनि तीर्थतीर्थम् भक्त्या समेत्य सुकृति परिनिज्य पादौ तत्तोऽयमन्वधृत मूर्धनि तीर्थतीर्थम्.
Stanza 10. Prahlada Vamshajataya Kratubhirdvijeshu Vishwasatonu Ditijo Pilebhe Yette Padambugirishasya Shirobhilalyam Sattvam Vibho Gurupuralaya Palayetha. See, Bhattaripat says, how is Mahabali so blessed that he's actually able to take the water which is coming out of your feet, right, and able to put it on his head? That's because one is because Prahlada Vamsha is coming. He's the grandson of Prahlada. So he's blessed. Prahlada is the Lord's favorite disciple. So he's coming in the Vamsham of Prahlada. So that is one reason. Second, he's also performed multiple sacrifices in yajna in praise of the Lord. That's because he's in his 100th Ashwamedha yajna, like we talked about. So he's also gained a lot of punyam with performing all this. Plus, he's also very kind to holy men. And you can see, even though he didn't know this was the Lord, because it was a Brahmana boy, he welcomes him, and then he's actually paying attention. So he's also, because of all these things that he's done, so he's able to get the blessings, right, of the water coming out of your feet. And then here, Bhattaripat says is this water, which is Girishasya Shiro, this water which is on the head of Shiva. And this comes again in the next chapter. So I'll hold that meaning there. And then we'll cover it in the next chapter. So even this sacred water which is having, is able to, Mahabali is able to feel it. So that, O Lord, Lord of Guruvayur, Palayeta, please protect me as well and eradicate all the diseases I have. So Prahlada Vamsha Jataya Kratubhir Dvijeshu, comma, Vishwasato nu tadidam ditijopi lebhe. Prahlada Vamsha Jataya Kratubhir Dvijeshu Vishwasato nu tadidam ditijopi lebhe.
Prahlada Vamsa Jataya Kratubhir Dvijeshu Vishwasato nu tadidam ditijopi lebhe. Prahlada Vamsa Jataya Kratubhir Dvijeshu Vishwasato nu tadidam दितिजोऽपि लेभे
प्रह्लादवंशजतया क्रतुभिर्द्विजेषु विश्वासतोऽनुतदिदं दितिजोऽपि लेभे प्रह्लादवंशजतया क्रतुभिर्द्विजेषु विश्वासतोऽनुतदिदं दितिजोऽपि लेभे
यत्ते पदाम्बु गिरिशस्य शिरोभि लाल्यं कम स त्वं विभो गुरुपुरालय पालयेथाः यत्ते पदाम्बुगिरिशस्य शिरोभिलाल्यं स त्वं विभो गुरुपुरालय पालयेथाः
यत्ते पादाम्बुगिरिशस्य शिरोभिलाल्यं सत्वं विभो गुरुपुरालय पालयेतः
No, so Meera, first third line is padambu. Okay, yatte padambu, and last word is palayethaha.
यत्ते पदाम्बुगिरिशस्य शिरोबिलाल्यं सत्वं विभो गुरुपुरालय पालयेताः
यत्ते पदाम्बुगिरिशस्य शिरोभिलाल्यं सत्वं विभो गुरुपुरालय पालयेथाः यत्ते पदाम्बुगिरिशस्य शिरोभिलाल्यं सत्वं विभो गुरुपुरालय पालयेथाः
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. So that completes 30. Move on to 31. Prabha, you can be a student, and Tulsi, you can be a student. Okay. So this one is like a tune is of the four liners, right? Stanza 1. Prithya daityah tavatanu prekshanat sarvathapi tvamaradhyan ajita rachahin anjalim sanjagadha mattah kim te samabhilashitam viprasuno badatvam vittam bhaktam bhavanamavanim vapi sarvam pradhasye. So Mahabali, then it's continuing, right? He's saying that Tavatanam, the form of yours is so shining and so brilliant that, I'm so pleased to have you in my Ashwamedha Yajna. So he then welcomes the Lord, and then he, he's with his folded hands, right? So Anjalim means you're doing that Anjali, the mudra. So he's with folded hands. He welcomes the Lord, he seats the Lord and all that. And then it says, "Oh Brahmin boy, I'm just so impressed with you. You are just boy full of tejas. So I feel like you have come here to ask for something. It looks like you need something. That's why you have come here. Otherwise, I don't know why you come all the way here to my Ashwamedha Yajna." And he says that, so whatever you want, you can take it from me, right? And he says, do you want, because you're a Brahmana, do you want a cow? Do you want a house? Do you want something to eat? Or do you want me to marry you or get you married with some other Brahmana's daughter? Or do you want, it is victim wealth or food or house or land, whatever you want, you ask me and then I'll give you, because I'm just very impressed looking at you. Right? So he's offering all that. So Pritya Daityaha, that is there, remove it, put a visarga and a comma. Daityaha. Tava Tanu Mahaha is there, put a if. Tanu Mahaf Prekshanat Sarvathapi, comma. Tvam Aradhyan Najita. So that's the 3 words, but you can break it that ma if you want. Tvam Aradhyan Najita, comma. Rachayan Nanjalim, again double na. It's Rachayan plus Anjalim, but it becomes 2 nas there. So Rachayan Nanjalim Sanjagada. Prithya Daityah Tavatanu Mahaf Prekshanat Sarvathapi Tvamaradhyan Najita Rachayan Nanjalim Sanjagada.
प्रीत्या दैत्याः तव तनुमहः प्रीक्षणात् सर्वथापि त्वाम् आराध्यन्नजित रचयन्नञ्जलिं सञ्जगाद प्रीत्या दैत्यः तव तनुमहः प्रीक्षणात् सर्वथापि
Prekshanat.
प्रेक्षण प्रीत्या दैत्यः तव तनुमहः प्रेक्षणात् सर्वथापि त्वाम् आराध्यन्नजित रचयन्नञ्जलिं सञ्जगाद
प्रीत्या दैत्यः तव तनुमः प्रेक्षणात् सर्वतापि त्वामराध्यन्नजित रचयन्नञ्जलिं सञ्जगाद.
And Tulsi, the second line, Tvam Aradhyan. Tvam Aradhyan.
Sure. प्रीत्या दैत्यः तव तनुमः प्रेक्षणात् सर्वदापि त्वामाराध्यन्नजित रचयन्नञ्जलिं सञ्जगाद.
Mattaha is there, put a ich on. Mattah kim te samabhilashitam, comma, viprasuno vada tvam, comma, vittam bhaktam. First is two tas. Vittam bhaktam bhavanamavanim vapi, comma, sarvam pradasye.
Vyaktamma Viktama.
Some books have vyaktam, so just change it to vittam. Okay, vittam, vittam, vittam. Mattah kim te samabhilashitam viprasuno vadatvam vittam bhaktam bhavanamavanim vapi sarvam pradasye.
Mattah kim te samabhilashitam viprasuno vadatvam vittam bhaktam bhavanam avanim vapi sarvam pradasi.
And the Prabandha, pause is after vapi. Okay, so vittam bhaktam bhavanam avanim vapi sarvam pradasi.
Mattah kim te samabhilashitam viprasuno vadatvam vittam bhaktam bhavanam avanim vapi sarvam pradasi.
मतः किं ते समभिलषितं विप्रसूनो वदत्वं वित्तं भक्त्वं भवनमवनीं वापि सर्वं प्रदास्ये.
Tulsi, the first word, third line, matta, double ta, it, matta.
Mattak.
Yeah.
Mattak kim te samabhilashitam viprasuno vadatvam vittam bhaktam bhavanamavanim vapi sarvam pradasye.
Answer 2. Tamakshīṇāṁ baligiramupakarnya karunyapurnopi asyotsekam shamayitumana daityavamsham prashamsan bhumim padatraya parimitam prarthayamasi tattvam sarvam dehi titu nigatite kasya hasyam navasyat. So the Lord is very happy because Bali is, respecting a Brahmana. So being very happy, he then praises Daitya Vamsham, he praises his clan, saying that you are indeed a very noble person, because of course, like we said earlier, right, you are the grandson of Prahlada. You have all these people, Shukracharya and all these Brahmanas who are guiding you constantly and making sure they're always doing the right things. So because of that, you are definitely a blessed person. And also in your family, he says, everybody sticks to what they say. Nobody has been a miser. Everybody is very dharalam, right? They are very kind and generous, and they have never held back, and they've always stuck to their promises, right? So he says, so with that, he says, however, right, all I need is just bhumim pada traya. Padam is feet, traya means three, bhumi means earth or land. So he says, I only need the land which is occupied by 3 feet of land measured by my foot. Right, that's all is enough, which is measurable. That's all I need. I don't need anything else. Because here Bhattaripat says that if you had asked Sarvam Dehi, because Bali gave an extensive list of things. Do you want wealth? Do you want land? Do you want a girl for marriage? If you had asked everything, then people would have ridiculed you, right? It's like, what is this boy? He's a Brahmana boy, and then he should be containing what is material requirements are, but he's going and asking for everything. So people, of course, will ridicule you. So you didn't ask for everything. You just told him, just give me 3 feet of land that is measurable by my foot. So Tamakshinam Bali Giram Upakarnya. If you want to break it, you can break it at that ma. Giram Upakarnya, comma, Karunya Purnopi. So put a P at the end of that line. Purnopi. Short P and then a comma. Next line, the Tya that you have, Tya, you replace with the A. So Asyot Sekam. Asyot Sekam. Shama Itumana, comma, Daitya Vamsham Prashamsan. Tamakshinham Baligiram Upakarnya Karunya Purnophi Asyot Sekam Shamayitumana Daitya Vamsham Prashamsan.
Tamaksheenam baligiram upakarnya karunyapurnopi asyotsekam shamayitumana daityavamsham prashamsan.
And the first line, Upakarnya.
Tamaksheenam baligiram upakarnya karunyapurnopi asyotsekam shamayitumana daityavamsham prashamsan.
Tamaksheenam Baligiramupakarnya Karunyapurnopi Asyotsekam Shamayitumana Daityavamsham Prashamsan.
After that Shamayitumana, there is a pause, okay?
Okay. Tamaksheenam Baligiramupakarnya Karunyapurnopi Asyotsekam Shamayitumana Daityavamsham Prashamsan.
Bhumim Pada Traya Parimitham, comma, Prartayam Asita. So you can break it that ma. Prartayam Asita Tvam, comma, Sarvam Dehiti Tu Nigadite, comma, Kasya Hasyam Navasyat. Bhumim Padatraya Parimitam Prartayamasita Tvam Sarvam Dehi Titu Nigatite Kasya Hasyam Navasyat.
Bhumim padatraya parimitam prarthayam asitatvam sarvam dehi tu nigadite kasya hasyam navasyat.
And the last line, Prabha, Dehiti Tu Nigatite.
Bhumim padatraya parimitam prarthayam asitatvam sarvam dehi tu nigadite kasyam hasyam navasyat.
Again, in the T you forgot. Sarvam Dehiti Tu.
Sarvam dehi tu nigadite.
No. Dehiti Tu.
Oh. Sarvam dehi tu nigadite.
Correct, yeah.
Bhumim Padatraya Parimitam Prartayamasidatvam Sarvam Dehiti Tu Nigadite Kasya Hasyam Navasyat.
And the pause is after Nigatite. Okay.
Oh, okay. Bhumim Padatraya Parimitam Prartayamasitatvam Sarvam Dehiti Tu Nigadite Kasya Hasyam Navasyat.
Answer 3. Vishvesham Ham Tripadamiha Kim Yachase balishastvam sarvam bhumim vrinu kimamune tyalapatvam sadripyan yasmad darpat tripada paripurtya kshamaha kshepavadan bandham chasa bhagamat atadarhopi gadhopashantyai. So because Bali, he's like, he's like we said, is 100. So he wants to offer. So he says, you spoke earlier in such a wise manner. So I thought you are a very intelligent child, right? Because you were able to praise me and you were talking about my lineage and all of that stuff. However, I think you are just a Balishaha. You are just a very simple-minded child, because I am offering you this entire thing, all these things, and all you're asking for is just 3 feet of land, right? That to measured by your feet. He says, why don't you ask for sarvam booming? Ask for the entire earth, because he says, I have so many things in my possession that if I just offer you such a small portion of land, it's an insult to me. So he says, if somebody has come to me and asks me for something, that person doesn't or shouldn't have the need to go beg anywhere else. So that's what he says is, once you come to me, that's it. You shouldn't have to go to anybody else to go ask for anything. So why don't you ask for anything you want? Right? In such a way, he just proudly Bali is telling. That's what here Bhattacharya says is, although he was such a wise person, but he had so much pride in him. So eventually, to eliminate his pride completely. So because at the end of the day, when you have so much pride, then you think everything is because of you, everything is because of what you are doing. So you have to eliminate the pride. Only then you will realize that you are not the driving force here. So to completely eliminate that thing, and so that he also gets a detachment, because right now Mahabali feels everything is his, because he is the lord of the 3 worlds. Says everything is his. To get him the detachment, that's why eventually he's going to get ridiculed for not even able to give 3 feet of land to you. But Tripad is saying at the very end. So the main purpose here is to get him out of this bondage and attachment, and also to eliminate the pride that is there in him. So Vishvesham Mam Tripadamiha Kim, comma, Yachase Balishastvam, comma, Sarvam Bhumim Brinu, comma. The next word you will have to kind of say it together. Kimamunet Yalapat Twam Sadripyan. So there's 2 it coming there. Kimamunet Yalapat Twam Sadripyan. Vishvesham Mam Tripadamiha Kim Yachase Balishastvam Sarvam Bhumim Brinu Kimamunet Yalapat Twam Sadripyan.
Vishvesham mam tripadamiha kim yachashe balishastvam sarvam bhumim vrunu kimuman
Kima. Go ahead.
Kimamunet yalapatvam sadrupyan. Vishvesham mam tripadamiha kim Yachashe balishastvam sarvam bhumim vrunu kimamunet yalapatvam sadripyan.
Patvam. Yalapatvam, second line.
Yalapatvam sadripyan.
Yeah.
Vishvesham mam tripadimaha kim yachane balishastvam sarvam bhumim vrunu kimamu netyalapatvam sadrupyan. Vishvesham mam tripadimaha kim.
So, Tulsi, tripadamiha.
Vishvesham mam tripadamiha kim. Vishvesham mam tripadamiha kim yachane balishastvam.
Yachase, say. Sir, right? Do you have a sir? Yachase, not yachane.
Vishvesham mam tripadamiha kim yachase balishastvam sarvam bhumim vrunu kimumune tyalapatvam sadrupyan.
On the second line, right? Kima munet. I think you said kimu munet. Okay. Yeah.
Kimamune tyalapatvam. Okay.
Yasma darpat. So there are 2 das coming there. Yasma darpat, comma, tripada paripurtya Kshamaha. So anytime there is a visarga coming before the letter Ksha, which is Kshepavadan, which is coming next, you have to say that visarga. So whether you are chanting, Vishnu Sahasranam, Lalita Sahasranam, Devi Matmyam, anything, every time you notice that they will emphasize that visarga because there's no joining letter. So Tripada Paripurtya Kshamaha, you say that visarga, then Kshepavadan, and then a comma. So you don't have to pause, just say that visarga, right? Kshepavadan, comma. Bandham Chasa Vagamat. So the that is there, we're going to break it. So first put a it. Chasa Vagamat, comma. The next word starts with a a. Atha Darhopi Gadhopha Shantye. Yasmadarpat Tripada Paripurtya Kshamaha Kshepavadan Bandham Chasa Vagamat Atadarhopi Gadhopashantyai.
यस्माद्दर्पात् त्रिपदपरिपूर्त्यक्षमाः
Kshepavadan, yeah.
क्षेपवादान् बन्धं चासावगमत् अतदर्होऽपि गाढोपशान्त्यै. यस्माद्दर्पात् त्रिपदपरिपूर्त्यक्षमाः क्षेपवादान् बन्धं चासावगमत् अतदर्होऽपि गाढोपशान्त्यै.
Vishvesham mam tripadamiha. Sorry, the third line, right? Sorry. Yasmad darpat tripada paripurna tyakshamah kshepavadan bandham chasavagamat atadarhopi gadopashantyai.
And Tulsi in the Yasma Darpat, then pause there.
Okay. Yeah. Yasmat darpat tripada paripurtyakshamaha kshepavadan bandham chasavagamat atadarhopi gadopashantyai.
Yep. That second last line, Chasa Bagamat. Okay, I think you said Chasa, it's Chasa. Okay. Stanza 4. We'll probably do a couple more and then we'll stop today. Stanza 4. Padhatraiha yadina mudito Vishtapairnapi tushyete Ityuktesmin varada Bhavate Datu Kamhe Tatoyam Daityacharya Tava Khalu Parikshartina Preranatam Mamadeyam Harirayamiti Vyaktameva Bhabhashe. So when Bali says, ask for whatever you want, why are you just asking for 3 feet? So Lord says that in this entire 3 worlds, if there is anything that can give a sense of gratification or a sense of satisfaction, that means that the person will never be satisfied no matter how much of that they have. So he says, because, and he gives a lecture saying that if you like something and that's going to give you happiness, that means you're never going to be contented with no matter how much of that you have. Because he says it's not about the quantity, it's about controlling the senses. And we all know that, right? We ask how much money you want, everybody just keep incrementing it once you hit that milestone, right? So he says anything that has a sense of gratification, that's what is going to be. So he says, so, and plus he says is whatever somebody is getting is because of the destiny, because of all the karma he has done. And based on that, he's going to be getting something. And if that person is going to be discontented with that, then he can never be happy. So he says, because of that, it's going to be no difference to me whether I get 3 feet of land or you give me the entire earth. So the same satisfaction is going to be there. So that's why he says, Padatraya Yadina Mudita. If I'm not satisfied with just 3 feet of land, then having the entire earth, which means thousands of feet of land, is also not going to make me happy. It doesn't matter. The quantity is not matter. So he says, I'm just happy with that. So when he says that, so then Bali is ready to offer him that. But before he's ready to offer, they put the tirtham, right? They sprinkle the water before you offer. So when he's getting ready to do that, So Shukracharya is coming and telling him that, Mama Deyam, do not. Mama means no, right? So he says, do not do this. So Shukracharya knows. He says, this is nobody, but this is Hari Rayamiti. This is Hari himself, right? He says, this is not a boy. This is not a Brahmana boy. He's the Lord himself who has come. And he actually tells, he's born to this Kashyapa and Aditi, and he has come. And his whole purpose here is to get rid of everything you actually have so that he can actually go and give it back to Indra, right? So he says, so Shukracharya stops him. And Bhattaripat says, all of this is Tava Parikshartina. You are the one who's prompting Shukracharya to go to try to stop Bali, to see if Bali is still sticking to his promise or he's giving it away, right? Or he just breaks his promise. So Shukracharya goes and tells him, don't do that. And this is Hari himself. And he's come to steal everything from you. So Pada Traya Yedi na Mudito, comma, Vishtapair Napi Tushyet, put a it at the end of that line, comma. Next line, the D that you have becomes a E. Ityuktesmin varada, comma. Bhavate Datu Kameta Toyam. Padhatrayya yadina mudito Vishtapairnapi tushyet Ityuktesmin varada Bhavate Datu Kameta Toyam.
Padatraya yadina mudito Vishtapirnapi tushyet Ityuktesmin varada bhavate Datu kame thatoyam.
Second line, after varada, there is a comma, okay?
Padatraya yadina mudito Vishtapirnapi tushyet Ityuktesmin varada Bhavate Datu kame tatoyam.
पादत्रय्या यदि न मुदितो विष्टपैर्नापि तुष्येत् इत्युक्तेऽस्मिन् वरद भवते दातु कामे ततोऽयम्. पादत्रय्या यदि न मुदितो विष्टपैर्नापि तुष्येत् इत्युक्तेऽस्मिन् वरद भवते दातु कामे ततोऽयम्.
Daityacharyaha, the is that is there, remove that is, visarga and a comma. Charyaha, comma. Tava khalu parikshartinaha, put a if, parikshartinah preranattam, comma. Mama deyam hari rayam iti, comma. Next word you can break it at that ma, vyaktam eva bhabashe. Daityacharyaha tava khalu parikshartinah preranattam mamadeyam harirayamiti vyaktameva bhabashe.
Daityacharya tava khalu parikshartinah preranartam mamadeyam harirayamiti vyaktameva bhabashi.
Vyaktam eva bhabashe.
எனக்கு அந்த டியூன் கொஞ்சம் ஞாபகப்படுத்துறீங்களா?
Daityacharyaha tava khalu parikshartinah preranattam mamadeyam harirayamiti vyaktameva bhabashe.
Daityacharya tava khalu parikshanarthitaf prerana.
And the word parikshartinah.
Parikshartinaf tava khalu parikshartinaf preranattam mamadeyam harirayamiti vyaktameva bhabashi.
Bhabashe, she.
Bhabashe.
दैत्याचार्यः तव खलु परीक्षार्थिनः प्रेरणार्थं मामादेयं हरिरयमिति व्यक्तमेवा बभाषे.
So after Daityacharya, there is a pause.
Okay. Daityacharya tava khalu parikshartinah preranattam Mamadeyam harirayamiti vyaktame bhabhashe.
One more stanza and we'll stop. Yachatyebham yadi sa bhagavan purnakamo'smi soham dasyameva stiramiti vadan kavya shaptopi dhaityah vindhyavalhya nijadayitaya dattapadhyaya tubhyam chitram chitram sakalamapi sa prarpayattoya purvam. So when Shukracharya tells him no, Bali is contemplating for a while. And then he comes back and says, so number one is, I have already promised that I will give it. So once I've promised, then I cannot take my word back. That's number one, is a promise. Second, he says is, you all are doing all this Ashwamedha Yaga and all these things as offerings to satisfy the Lord. If that Lord himself has come, right, and is asking whether he's trying to punish me or if he's trying to get something from me, and he's coming and he's begging, right, because he's coming with a bowl and says, just give me that. So when the Lord himself is coming and begging for something from me, how can I say no to that? So that's why he says, let him say, this is a Bhagavan. If it's the Lord himself who's come, which I'm not sure, but let's say it's the Lord himself, how can I not be happy serving the Lord for what he wants? And even if that means he's going to trick me. So he says, so I am going to stick with what I have done. And if he wants 3 feet of land, I am going to give him 3 feet of land. And so he continues. So when he says that, Shukracharya gets very upset. And this is not there in Narayaneeyam, but Shukracharya, his curses. So he's upset with Bali. And then he says, I'm pretty sure you're going to lose your entire power. And this is going to be the last of your thing. And he says, that's fine. I'm willing to take that chance, right? And then he goes ahead. So his wife, who is Vindhyavali is his wife's name. So she then joins him, right, to offer, because when he is offering something to the Brahmana, so both the husband and the wife come, and then in a Prarpaya Toya Purvam, so they put that put water on it and decide to offer the land. So that's what Bhatripad says is Chitram Chitram. It's really wonderful. It's really amazing that although he's a person of, he's part of the Asura clan, he's sticking by his promises, right? So Yachat Yevam Yadi Sa Bhagavan, comma, Purna Kamosmi Soham, comma, Dasyameva Stiram iti vadan, comma, Kavya Shaptopi Daityaha. So just say it one time, Prabha and Tulsi, will run out of time otherwise. Yachatyevam yadi sa Bhagavan Purnakamosmi soham Dasyameva stiramiti vadan Kavya Shaptopi Daityaha.
Yachatyevam yadi sa Bhagavan Purnakamosmi soham Purnakamosmi soham Dasyam yeva stiramati vadan Kavya Shaptopi Daityaha.
Just one correction, Stiram iti vadan.
Yachatyevam yadi sa Bhagavan Purnakamosmi soham Dasyamyeva stiramiti vadan Kavya Shaptopi Daityaha.
Dasyam, okay, the second line, first word, Dasyam. Vindhyavalya Nija Daitaya, comma, Datta Padhyaya Tubhyam, comma, Chitram, comma, Sakalamapi Sa Prarpayat Toya Purvam. Okay, Prarpayat it and then Toya Purvam. Vindhyavalhya Nijadayitaya Dattapadhyaya Tubhyam Chitram Sakalamapi Sa Prarpayat Toya Purvam.
Vindhyavalya Nijadayitaya Dattapadhyaya Tubhyam Chitram Sakalamapi Sa Prarpayot प्रार्पयत्तोय पूर्वं
Prarpayat.
प्रार्पयत्.
Okay. And then chitram chitram, after that the comma is there. Okay.
विन्ध्यावल्य निजदैतया दत्तपाद्याय तुभ्यं चित्रं चित्रं सकलमपि स प्रार्पयत्तोय पूर्वम्.
And Tulsi, the comma is after chitram chitram. Chitram chitram, comma, sakalamapi sat prarpayattoya purvam. Okay. Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. We'll end the class here. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurpurushartatmakam brahmatattvam tattavad bhati sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam काहेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि.